things I'm working on now is trying to get a little Ethernet run with a little RJ45 jack right down here. Might see it right there if my body wasn't in the way. Anyway, I just cut a little small hole in the sheetrock using one of these little adjustable outlet boxes that have the little screws on the top and bottom that tighten this in and hold it against the sheetrock. So you can just take a little pen and sketch on the sheetrock the pattern on the back of the hole here, plus a little room on the top and bottom where it needs a little more wiggle room. But just use a little, what do they call, sheetrock, little cutting saws like this. They work really good for punching that hole in the wall and getting going. And then once you get that little hole in the wall, we're going to take the power drill and one of these little long rods. You can find them at a big box store, and they're great because they're kind of flexible. They'll bend a bit. Trying to show this, kind of like so. You got some flexibility when you're driving them in. So that's what we're gonna try here. Is take the little power drill, just put this in like so. Get a good spot for it. And attach the power drill at the top here, tighten it real good, and just start slamming it down underneath the floor here. There's a nice big crawl space. So once I get a hole here, I can find the spot to start it, put a little wire down there through the hole with a roll of or spool of the RJ45 or the Cat5 internet, Ethernet kind of cable, and then pull it along underneath the floor here to that corner where there's a lot of other wires going through to the other part of the down crawl space in the house. I don't have to go up and around and come back through the other side and pull it the rest of the way through, and then up into the internet closet they have in our master bedroom there, the bath area, back of the closet. Okay, so I went underneath the floor here and down the little ladder steps here. It's not a lot of space to crawl around, but you can see kind of in the middle of the screen there's some wire that I had pulled down, but it seemed to have like knotted up or something as I was pulling it from the other side of that wall. Anyway, I'm going to go crawl over and check it out, see why it didn't go the rest of the way through. So I've pushed as much of that extra cable, a few more feet anyway, as I could get through the hole, and then the rest I just kind of clumped it together carefully and tucked it up in the little floor joist and kind of got it out of the way. I don't think I'm going to bother trying to pull that for any further and tighten it or whatever. The goal today is just get the stuff pulled through and get it in good connected on both ends, which is what we're up to next. Close up everything here. Here's our little trap door. Guess you gotta get without dropping a shoe. Get that out of there. So the next time I'm down in the little dungeon, not a pretty place to climb around. Okay, down we go. And turn off the light down under there. Okay, now to pull it through a little bit more on the other end. So I just got finished crimping down. This is a crimping tool on a Ethernet cables. They call them Cat5, Cat6, Cat6E. A lot of little different standards that have evolved over the years. Anyway, it goes onto a little jack RJ45 like this. There's a little crimping tool that I use. This guy here can do the RJ45 and the older telecom stuff too for the old DSL and what do they call it? plain old telephone service, those old jacks. I haven't crimped one of those in ages, but this is the RJ45, and they usually come in little packs of 25 or 50 or whatever you want to get. And anyway, now I'm going to go punch down the other piece to all this on the back in the apartment. And then we'll give it a quick test, and hopefully we'll have internet. So in this picture, we've got a couple mappings that are called the T568 and B. A on the left, B on the right, though they're usually commonly referred to as just A and B. If you're doing just a cable build, you just use the two plugs and map A to A on each end, or vice versa, B to B. You don't mix them like A on one end and B on the other. Now in this clip here, we've got a wall plate, and likewise on the wall plate, it's usually documented and mapped out and color coded so that you've got clearly marked what the A pattern is. So if you have a plug on one end and a wall plate on the other, you'd go A to A, or of course if you're mapping B to B, you do likewise. And it doesn't matter which pattern you pick out, they both will work fine. Okay, here we go. So I've already pulled the wire up through the little case here, and just going to pop it back in like so. Okay, it's pretty firm in the sheetrock there. We got a little extra cable to play with here. And let's just tighten this down real good too. Okay, that's in there good. And now what we got is a little punch down for the Cat 5. Get them in a little collection like this, Cat 5 jacks, and they snap into the little wall plate here, a little hole here, and then they snap in from the back. Anyway, they have a little punch down, color coded. I guess I got it upside down, but they also have this little AB. It's real hard to see, it's real small, but they represent the color codes and how you map it out, which wire here goes to which color that you punch down. Not all of these little kits come with this little punch down tool. I like this a lot. It gives me the control as I'm putting the wires in to punch them and snap them and really feel them go in. So anyway, let me just strip the outer insulation off here. Yeah, I'll try a little more. Oh, come on. There we go. That exposes the 4 sets of colored wires here. Anyway, it's best to just start unraveling them. They're twisted, 4 twisted pairs, which makes for the 8 wires. There's a set of blue and a white blue. Look real careful, you'll see a color of blue along this white one. And there's the brown pair. And I like to just straighten them out a bit. So that's also got a white one with a little bit of brown on it. Now I'm working on the orange one. And finally the green pair. And again, I like to straighten them out a bit. Use my fingers to pinch them and straighten them. Anyway, back here on the little plate, I like to map with A, which is the white green. That'll be this one, and the second one on the left there will be solid green under A. Anyway, I'll put that down in, and then the solid green, the next one, the second one. I use my 2 fingers to try to guide them in. Then I take my little punch down tool to really push them in solid until I can feel them snap. Okay, next colors are white, orange, and solid orange. I kind of move my blue out of the way. And then there's that brown pair. They'll be going to the other side too. And then I'll bring the orange, because both orange are going to be needed here. So I put the orange-white one. That's the 3rd position here, along with the orange. And I snap them down good. Then the white brown goes on the top there. The full brown wire, the next one. And then the blue white. And then finally the last but not least, our blue wire. Again, I punch them down, make sure they're all in. And then sometimes I'll just be nice and clean about this and just trim it off. Same with the other side. Trim them down. And then, of course, when I find them, I think I put them back in the bag. There are those little backside punch downs. These little guys will try to hold them in place. And then, of course, you just twist everything back in, or you could even push some of this back into the wall more. pointed here. Right here. So if we have internet access, wired, and we can confirm that by just opening up a browser. Voila. Everything. Internet here. So what I'm going to do next, take our little TP link. This model, whatever it is, I can't read it, it's too small. And it's not brightly lit up well enough in here. But this is both a hotspot configurable and an extender. I like to use them primarily as hotspots, even though it's a separate little network to connect to. It at least provides for a better signal. So that's what we're going to do now, is get this set up. And then hopefully get our last exterior camera set up too, that looks outside around the house. That's been not working all the time because we don't have a strong enough internet at this end of the house. So I'll show one other little thing here. Flip over. See, we're all plugged in. We got the 3 little good lights, so the Wi-Fi is good. The internet hotspot over here. So I'll just have to configure the outside camera next, but I'll show one other thing. I have these little brackets down here. Used to be, I could only find these at sheetrock stores and, in an industrial area in the city, usually in boxes of 500 or 1,000 or something. But they are real handy, and I have seen them in one of the big box stores. I think Home Depot or Lowe's. I can't remember which one. But basically, you screw them in now on the back side of the outside of the sheetrock. One here. And then usually one about here. Then you put your little sheetrock spot piece back in here, and then screw them in, and usually get a nice snug fit. Then you can come back in here and put a little sheetrock mud over it, and after that dries, usually a little texture. But this wall was never textured, so it's kind of a, I don't know what they call this texturing. It's really not even hardly textured, but you can see these little funky little patterns. They're everywhere, but it's mostly a smooth surface on this sheetrock, which makes it harder to patch things up and hide it with texture and all that. So anyway, I'm going to quickly screw these in, and I'll show you the finished little product before I start putting the sheetrock mud on it. So once you get the little sheetrock piece put back in, and the at least four little screws, depending on how big this hole is and how big the piece was that you cut out, then you got to come back here and you just use a little friction here back and forth, and these little guys pop off. There's 2. Yeah, I found these little metal brackets were so much easier and faster to patch up little problems with your sheetrock. So there they are, all 4 of them taken off. Now we're ready to put a little mud on this. And what we do is take our little, we try here to scoop some up and just start spreading. Before you know it, it's looking pretty good. We'll come back after that's dried, give it a little sanding, a little touch up. See one little hole there. I'm going to try to get a little more perfected. Okay, there, that looks better. Then I'll wash this off and put my little box of mud away. So far, as long as I keep the plastic over it, it's been lasting months now, keeping pretty moist. This is like an $18 thing at the big box store. I don't remember which store I got it from, but that's kind of the brand. And of course, there's all kinds of little spackle containers, jars, whatever that you can get, smaller ones. And they make these little kind of patch-up jobs so go so easy. And like I say, if you had a textured wall to begin with, it becomes really easy to spray a little orange peel texture over the stuff, and then after that dries, and you can quickly paint it, and you can't even tell any hole was there. So I'm over at the Albuquerque house right now. I'm going to share with you like how the internet closet here works. It's almost identical, except some of the pieces are a little bigger here and more wires involved. And there's an alarm system too, but the concepts are the same. We have an internet can from T-Mobile right here that goes into the little network closet here, and I'll flip around. By the way, just a side note, I'm over at the Albuquerque house this week dealing with getting the last bit of the solar finally inspected, and hopefully will pass. We already failed on Monday. We have the city electrical inspector coming out again in a couple more days, but the installer will be here tomorrow morning and fixing a couple problems that were failed on the first electrical inspection. But more on that on another future episode here, because it's already over 3 months since we actually physically installed the rack system on the roof and the panels and the electrical components and switches and shutoffs and stuff like that into our main panel in the garage. But again, another subject. Very disappointing that it's taken this long to get this project done. We started like maybe 16 months ago, starting down this path, paying money out, and we're finally getting there. But in the meantime, frustrating it's taken so long. Anyway, I'll flip around, show you what's in here. Have a lot of stuff in here. It's kind of has a tendency to want to fall. It is kind of a mess, but what I basically have here is the main yellow wire comes for the internet access outside to T-Mobile's network. All the blue wires here go to various wall plates in the bedrooms, the kitchen, my office, and so forth. And this edge router, it's a gigabit router, and so as things bandwidth grows here. Right now we only do maybe a couple 300 megabits on this modem here, but if we get to gigabit speeds or better, this router that I got here, which is like a 10 port, 12 port, whatever, yeah, 10, takes care of this house, because this house has a lot more wire that was ran to all the rooms and stuff. While the house out on the nature preserve, that's only got a 5-port edge router on it. And again, it's set up kind of the same way, that we have a wire, cable going to the modem. This is just the power right here. And then we have a little universal UPC, they call them, universal power supply. So things can keep running. If we lose power, it can run for a while anyway. And then behind it, of course, I got some other little intelligent devices to make expansion here for this house a little easier. The two little mini boards you see there with the green lights, that's the alarm system, and it's Wi-Fi enabled and ties into a mobile alarm system on my phone. And all the little wires here, you'll see that tie in here go not only to the sirens, but also to all the old physical. See these white wires here coming in. They go to all the doors, windows, other motion detectors and stuff like that. And every window in this house has a sensor, every door and so forth. And this is all just tied together then, all in this closet. We have some of the old coax cable from Comcast or whoever the provider is these days for old video content coming in from the street. And of course goes up to several rooms and stuff too, but it's obsolete, not being used anymore. It's, all Ethernet now, and then of course Wi-Fi, like this little Internet can display or sends out a Wi-Fi signal, as does one of these wires off one of the ports on the router here. Goes upstairs to an access point I have plugged into a wall jack 2 that sends out a second Wi-Fi network out up there, where it's a real strong signal for the whole upstairs, while we have this one downstairs. It's pretty strong everywhere downstairs, and that covers this whole house. Anyway, that's what the rest of the whole Ethernet, internet, Cat5, RJ45 whole world is all about here in this little cabinet here. Thought I'd also point out, here's the old original platform for the alarm system. Here's the actual board, the little panel for enabling, disabling the alarm. I think we have 2 of them here, one for the garage door entrance and I think one for the main front door. And then this is where all the old blue wires that I was just showing a moment ago in that cabinet used to go into here, and it would like daisy chain through here for all of the Cat5 cables that were coming through. And I think one went out to the street for the old plain old telephone service. We used to call it POTS in the old days, plain old telephone service. So you could have phone service in all the bedrooms that had the wall plate with the RJ45 Cat5 wiring going to it. We were real lucky that all I had to do was remove this and then take all those blue Ethernet cables, the Cat5 cables, and then just put jacks on them, and then I could plug it into a router and then share the whole internet to each destination throughout the house. So anyway, this is just what the old world used to look like. All the doors and the windows would come here, as well as the siren and all that for the old board. Anyway, I've taken it all out, still saved it. You never know. Might be useful someday. And if you'd like to support our channel, please subscribe and like and gong that bell, to get notified when we have a new episode or postings out. Thanks for coming along this week. Cheers.